Thank you for tuning in. This is DJ Bob Fresh from SEGA your SEGA resource. And today we're doing a video review of Yakuza 4. Originally released in Japan in January of 2010, Yakuza 4 received an award of excellence at the Japanese Game Awards. A year later, we finally had it translated, and we have this PS3 exclusive home here in the West. So how does it fare? The Yakuza series has always been known for an original take on the open world concept. To put it simply, this open world game plays like a hybrid of an RPG and a beat-em-up title. The action is fast and furious and feels like a great mix between Streets of Rage and Virtua Fighter. Some fans might even go so far as to say that this is a spiritual successor to the Shenmue franchise. If you're a fan of the Yakuza series, especially Part 3, this game pretty much improves on every aspect of the previous game, with maybe one exception. The best way I can describe it is that Yakuza 3 was an emotional epic. It felt like a movie. Every little detail at the beginning of that game paid off with huge emotional dividends towards the end. Yakuza 4, on the other hand, while it does have an overarching story, feels more episodic, and this is mostly because there are 4 different characters that you control over the course of the game. However, what you lose in emotional payoff, you gain in gameplay variety, as each one of the 4 characters that you control all have different fighting styles, they have different unlocks, and different mini-games that are attributed to them. If you're new to the Yakuza franchise, this is actually an excellent place to begin, because these new characters bring almost a new beginning. There's tons of Easter egg content for longtime fans, and yet, at the same time, it's a nice, easy way to get into the series if you haven't played a Yakuza title before. Also, like Yakuza 3, all of the previous game cutscenes are available in the options menu. There have been further refinements as well. The graphic engine has been noticeably improved. However, it's not a great leap over the previous entry. On top of that, gameplay refinements have been made. So in terms of the battle system and in also the chase sequences, which were really a nuisance in Yakuza 3, are actually quite fun in Yakuza 4. The single greatest improvement, however, though, is that very little content has been cut out of this edition of the series when compared to Yakuza 3. Hostesses are back, and all the little mini-missions that are connected to those characters are back as well. SEGA did a great job translating this game and bringing it to fans in the West. As you can see in the screen above, it took me just under 30 hours to beat the game the first time, and I only unlocked about 12% of the actual game. So there's tons of content here. On top of that 28 hours that I spent playing the game actually didn't feel that long. I had a ton of fun running through this game. Furthermore, once you do beat the game, you do unlock certain other modes, and there's DLC that comes pre-packaged in with the game that you can utilize after you beat it. The action in Yakuza 4 is brutal and intense, and immensely satisfying. One really cool aspect about the 4 players that you control over the game is that each one gets their own minigame. In Saijima's missions, you actually can create a fighter, and the object of this minigame is to train a fighter to compete and win in tournaments within 50 rounds of training. It's actually surprisingly deep. Akiyama actually has 2 minigames, one called Friendship, where he can befriend various NPC characters in the town, and by doing so he can get items or get other unlocks. His other minigame is Create Number 1 Hostess, which is pretty fun, because what you're doing is actually training a hostess to be successful in his own club. It's a weird minigame, but it's enjoyable. And of course, all 4 minigames for each of the characters all have their own trophy unlock, so it's worth spending some time to try to complete them. And all of this comes over top of all of the other things we love to do in Yakuza, such as fishing, or going to play a round of table tennis, or just gambling. There's tons of things that you can do to just waste your time in this game. Also, the world has gotten a lot larger since Yakuza 3, as there's been 3 new locations added. A whole rooftop area which stretches over across the town, the back streets, and also another area called the Underground. So there's 3 levels to the city, making it feel bigger. The production values in this game are fantastic. The cinematics look great, the voice acting is very strong, the translation is equally as strong. The score is cinematic and fits the universe. All of the controls feel nice and tight, especially the QuickTime events. However, Western gamers may want to go into the options menu and tweak their settings to their liking. One thing that rarely gets mentioned with the Yakuza franchise, which I think is a shame, is the massive amount of humor in it. It's a really spectacularly funny game at times. Just whether it's dialogue or situations that occur in the game, it's one of the few games that can actually have me laughing out loud. Ultimately though, Yakuza 4 is a great mix. It's one part serious crime drama, one part anime antics, but at all times wholly entertaining. And that's what you want in a game. If you played earlier entries in the series and found that it wasn't quite your cup of tea, there might not be enough new here to change your mind. That said, if you're a longtime fan of the series, this is a great addition to your library and an excellent addition to your collection. If you're new to this series, there's no better place to start enjoying this cult classic. This is DJ Fob Fresh signing out, saying keep on gaming.